In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to create a curtain wall in Autodesk Revit. Here I have a small building, and I'm going to use the curtain wall tool to place some windows and doors in the front of this building. I'm going to begin by creating the opening for the curtain wall. I'll switch to the south elevation. Then on the Architecture tab in the Opening panel, I'm going to select Wall Opening. For the first click, I'm going to select the wall I want to cut. Then I'm just simply going to pick two diagonal endpoints for the opening. At this point, I'm just arbitrarily creating the opening, and I will adjust it afterwards. I'll go ahead and escape a couple of times to get out of the command, then select the opening here. And in this case, I want a 13-foot wide opening, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust its dimension here. Next, I'm going to adjust its properties to get the correct size. So over here in the properties, I'm going to set the base offset to 0. I'm going to set the base constraint to level 1, and I'm also going to set the top constraint to level 1 as well. Then I'm going to set the top offset value to 9 feet. That will give me the correct size of opening. Next, I want to dimension its location. So I'm going to add in some aligned dimensions here. I'll select my opening, then adjust this dimension to 6'6". Now I can see that that opening is centered on the wall. Now I am ready to draw my curtain wall. Just like any other wall, I'm going to do this in the plan view, so I'll switch back to level 1. Then I am going to choose my wall tool. I'll select my curtain wall type. Then I will adjust my height to 9 feet to fit in the opening that I just created. I'm going to select the center of the wall here, and I want this wall to be flipped to the outside, so I'm going to tap the spacebar in my case to get the curtain wall to flip to the outside. Then I'll draw across the opening. I'll switch back to 3D, and you can see that I now have a glass wall in here. The next step is to add in some grid lines. I'll switch back to the south elevation here. Then on the Architecture tab, I will select Curtain Grid. I'm just going to arbitrarily place the correct number of grid lines, and then I will use some dimensions to locate them afterwards. You, of course, could instead use your temporary dimensions to locate these lines as well. So I'm going to create 5 vertical grid lines and 2 horizontal grid lines. Then I'll come in with my aligned dimension tool. They do disappear, so you kind of have to look for them while you're doing this. There we go. Then I'll do the horizontal ones as well. Then I'll select my grid lines and adjust my dimensions. So these are going to be 1'9" apart. Then I'll have the doors themselves. Those are going to be 3 feet doors. And then, of course, 1'9" over on this side as well to make it symmetrical. Then on my grid lines, the first one up is going to be 3'6" from the bottom. Then 3'6" from there. That'll give me a 7-foot door. And then 2 feet up above as well. We're going to place 2 doors here, so I actually need to trim out some grid lines. I'm going to select this grid line here. Then in the ribbon, select Add or Remove Segments. Then I will select the 2 segments I want to remove, then press Escape. Now you can see that I have room for some doors now. Next, I'm going to place my curtain wall doors. The workflow for curtain wall doors is very different than normal doors. Generally, you can use the Door tool and find the door type that you want to use. As you can see, I do not have the curtain wall door loaded here. I actually do have it loaded, it's just not going to show up in the Door tool. When working with a curtain wall, what you instead do is select a panel and change it to the door type. So I'm going to hover over the edge of one of my doors here and press Tab until it highlights that particular panel. Then click to select it. Then I can use my type drop down and change it to the appropriate type. In this case, door, curtain wall, single glass. I'll repeat this for the other door. So I'll tab until the panel is selected, then switch it to the appropriate door type. I'm going to switch to my level 1 plan view and flip this door here so that they both open to the outside. Finally, I'm going to add in my curtain wall mullions, which are the metal pieces. I'm going to come here to the Architecture tab and select the mullion tool. I'll select the type of mullion that I want. In this case, I'm going to use a 1.5 by 2.5 rectangular mullion. I have multiple options here. I can do all grid lines and it will automatically select every one, or I can do individual segments, or I can do entire lines. Since I know there's going to be some areas I don't want mullions, I'm going to start with the grid lines, and I'll select these couple of horizontal rows here, and then I will select some of the vertical columns. Then I'll come back in with the grid line segment tool and select the portions of grid lines in which I don't want the entire row or column selected. And that will include these bottom ones as well. Now I'll switch back to the 3D view, and we can see the completed curtain wall here, including the doors. That concludes this look at creating a curtain wall in Autodesk Revit.